Okay. Oh, that's loud. I guess we're going to start. Hopefully my girls will turn up at some point. So hi, my name is Mikey. I work at Red Hat. I'm based here in Brno, and my lightning talk is about Django Girls. Django Girls is a programming workshop for women. It's a one-day workshop, and it's meant to introduce women into the world of software development, programming, technology, There we go, Sims and Girls. And it's the main goal of the workshop is to teach these women how to build a website with Django, a web framework based on Python. But throughout this workshop, they get to be introduced to the wonderful world of troubleshooting your system, managing packages, installation, deployment. They get to learn about Git. They get to learn about all these different things that have to do with the website management. And they also, hopefully, we give them the confidence to try more and develop to it. And some of the women, we encourage them to become either developers or any sort of job or role in the IT fields. So we just had our first workshop here in Brno yesterday. The first workshop we had, actually, I'm missing something from the slide. That square inside is supposed to be Berlin, July 2014, which was EuroPython, which was the first ever Django Girls workshop. My co-organizer Lenka and myself were a part of this workshop. And a part of the selection process was also based on the likelihood of sharing and spreading the word and organizing these workshops. So these are some pictures from the workshop we had yesterday. We had 30 slots. We had over 160 applicants. We ended up having participants from 5 countries, coaches from 3 countries. We had coaches coming in here from Hungary, from Poland. We had one 12-year-old girl who came here with her mother from Zagreb, Croatia. And you get such a wide range of walks of life. And it was really, really nice. So again, the organizers, there was Lenka and myself who graduated from the EuroPython workshop. We also had amazing sponsors. We had Red Hat. We had DevConf. We also had Elasticsearch. They provided the space and the food and budget for swag and travel expenses. So we had a lot of help, which was really, really nice. And we had 10 coaches and 1 meta coach. You might recognize some of these people. Some of them are in this room. So they really took the time, not just during the workshop, which was one day, but the girls also had to install a lot of prerequisites. So they got together with their coaches online before the workshop, and they set up their system so that they can come in the morning and just focus on coding. So right now we have, this is the list of workshops that are scheduled right now for the foreseeable future, including, we got in Tijuana, in Bucharest. We also have in Montreal as a part of PyCon. So they're setting that up right now. PyCon is the biggest Python conference. In Europe, we also already had in Australia, in Nairobi, all over Europe, Canada, and the States. And it's all because we want to spread the word and we want to give these women the opportunity to be introduced to the world of technology. And we think it's really important. So how can you help? We want you to care. And that's the first thing that is important to something like that. So part of the reason why I'm giving this talk is not just to tell you how awesome this is, right? Is also to highlight some of the things that you might be able to do to be allies to programs like this. Django Girls is a very new program, but we also there are PyLadies, which teach longer term courses in Python. There's Rails Girls. There's a lot of outreach programs for women. The resources are just immense, and you can look it up everywhere. So the first thing is the tutorial. We've been working on improving this tutorial for the last 6 or 8 months since we started. So you feel free, if anybody's interested, send them the tutorial, read through it, make suggestions. Everything is stored on GitHub. Everything is public. Everything's open. You can help with that. Translation. We've already had this tutorial translated to Polish and Hungarian. We're also trying to determine the translation workflow for the tutorial to make it a little bit more flexible for other languages. So if anybody wants to help with that, you're more than welcome to. You can start your own event. That's one of the most effective ways to be able to bring Django Girls to your city. Our website, djangogirls.org, has amazing resources that Ola and Ola, they're like an institution, as the two girls who organized the first one, the first workshop. So there's a tutorial, there's a coaching manual, there's extensions, there's all these different things, and the resources are available to you. And I guess the last thing I want to mention is that as a part of our partnership with DevConf, we got a sprint room where we've set up a Hackfest. So it's kind of like a cross between a Hackfest and a sprint. And we basically give the girls a chance to come to the conference. I mean, they've been hanging around here today, and they will be here tomorrow as well. But on Sunday, we wanted to give them a chance to keep working on their websites or work on the tutorial. And we also actually had a lot of Windows users who've expressed interest in learning Linux. So I'm kind of giving this call out. First of all, any Python, Django developers who want to come to this to our sprint, we're going to be here for like a good few hours. Even if you come in just for half an hour or an hour, sit with one of the girls, you know, whether it's helping them get set up on GitHub or showing them around. I mean, we had a table today, and we were sitting around, and the girls were trying different things and working with little circuit boards, and you know, they really, really opened their minds, and they want to try different things. And also, if we have some girls who are really interested in learning about Linux. We even have a girl who has Fedora 13 on an old laptop, and she wants to bring it over and upgrade it and learn it. So if anybody wants to come and just hang out or sprint next to them, or just to give them a feel of what it's like to really hack at a project, open source project. So I guess that's it. And you can't have Django Girls without cupcakes. This is actually a screenshot from our tutorial. I really do believe that Django Girls rock, and we really want to see this thing grow and spread, and it's already become so nice. So you can find us, djangogirls.org, Twitter, Django Girls and Django Girls Brno, and follow us because this workshop we had yesterday is definitely not the last one. So expect more. We're already talking about Prague. Maybe we want to bring it to Brno again in the summer. So keep in touch with us. And if there's anything that you want to help with, we'd love to hear about it. So thank you.
Yeah, this is working. Okay, so before I start, a quick poll. Which one of you noticed that it's really cold outside, and which one of you is really looking forward to something, warmer weather outside? I think everybody. So before the summer comes, let's at least talk about summer. I'm Michael Privozník. I work at Red Hat here in Brno. Although today I'm going to be talking about something that Google does, which is really awesome, a project that they have started. So you probably imagining how you are going to spend your summer, how to spend it nicely. I bet there are a lot of developers here that are working on open source, and you always wanted this feature to be implemented in your project, or you wanted to start a new project, but there was something more important going on. There were some other bugzillas to fix, more important bugzillas to fix, and I think there are some students here as well, which are trying to figure out where they are gonna earn some money during the summer. So this is where Google comes in. It's actually the 11th year that they are holding this event. It's called Google Summer of Code. So how does it work? Students work on open source project on some ideas in there. Mentors lead them along the path and evaluate their progress. Once students pass evaluation, that get paid stipend from a Google, which is, I think, really nice money. It's divided into mentor and student in the ratio that you can see there. So what's the catch? What do you need to have in order to get the money? You must be over 18. You must be a student if you want to participate as a student, although there are not. You can be a student still if you want to be a mentor. Although if you want to be a mentor, you have to be already a part of the open source project, and you must be eligible to work, obviously. So what's the project timeline? Open source project fill in this organization's proposal. Organizations sign in forms, from which Google will pick a few of them. Although I think they're pretty much picked every one of them. Google then notifies the organizations that you have been selected for the project, and then students can start to filling their proposals to the organizations for the open source project that they want to work on. Part of the organization form is to provide a list of ideas for the open source project that can be worked on. Usually students will pick one of these instead of bringing their own ideas, so be aware of that. Then the organizations will see the students that have signed in, and they will start picking up the students that they want to work with. Usually, do an IRC interview or something like that to get an idea how the student is able to code. Google will then allocate so-called slots, which is Google will tell how many students it will fund for the organizations. It may happen that Google will allocate slightly fewer students that you have chosen, in which case you have to either reorder the students or something like that. It's up to you. Then the selected students are notified that they will be funded, and they can start getting in touch with the organization, getting in touch with the project itself, checking out the repo and stuff like that. Then there is, I think, 2 months during which a student has time to finish their exams at university. It's called bonding period, so I guess you get the picture. Then, as the summer starts, students begin to coding, and again, mentors will guide them through. And I cannot really stress enough how important is to fill in the midterm and the final evaluation, because if either student or mentor fails to do so, Google won't fund anything. The student is done, basically. After which, students will upload their code to the Google, so Google will see what they have done, and then the money will come. So, participating organizations that have participated for the previous years, if you wanna, work on CERN, that's even possible as well. From there, I will pick QEMU, which is not only QEMU project itself, but also KVM and LibWeird as well, which is the project I'm working on. So if you wanna join LibWeird, you are very welcome. And there are many others projects. I think if you go to the Google Summer of Code website, you will find the most suitable match for you. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
You said it's for the summer, but how long the student has to fulfill the...
Yeah, so the organization, it's, I think, February the 20th that organization has to fill their proposals. Then during March, students will starting to sign up. And then there's this bonding period, and it finishes somewhere mid-September, the Google Summer of Code. Yeah. Yeah.
This is not a question. I did this program like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I would like to encourage people to participate because it is a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
Personal development as a programmer and so on things in the future. And I was doing it with cooperation of Red Hat. I was working on Arcadia with JBoss. Well, you have just 3 months for it to do all. It's a really nice experience. You get some money as well, so why not just go for it? This is not so hard
Yeah.
to get into it. So
Definitely.
definitely.
Yeah, it's something that, if you are a student, you don't have much opportunities to get experience from. So Google Summer of Code is one of them, and you got paid, so what can be better? Okay, and I'm out of time, so thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Now, let's talk about something different. We will talk about wealth. So, what's wealth? Hopefully, at least someone here knows that wealth is CDI reference implementation, which means it's part of Java EE. Yesterday, we have just released Wealth 3.0 Alpha 4, which is kind of bleeding edge or experimental version, which contains some CDI 2 prototypes, and not only these. We have also introduced the development mode, and this is the topic I would like to talk about today. The development mode is actually some built-in tools which should ease the development of CDI applications. And right now, we only have one tool. Hopefully there will be others. It's called Wealth Probe, and it's a tool which allows the developers to inspect the application CDI components at runtime. Now, some links. The first one is a link to my blog post. So if you prefer reading or don't understand my English, go ahead and read my bad English there. The second one is a live demo I will show. And the third one is a Wealth site. It's a project site. You can find a lot of information about CDI, Wealth, and this stuff. So before I start to show the demo, let's talk about the motivation why we developed Wealth Probe. CDI applications sometimes become quite complex, and it's not easy to understand the application, what components are there, and what happens inside. There are tools like I don't know, JBoss Developer Studio, which performs some kind of static analysis. It's analyzing the source code and tries to help the developer to understand the application. However, in CDI, due to its extensibility, there are some questions this static analysis can answer. So we have developed Wealth Probe, which is actually a simple REST API. So if you have a CD application which is a web application and enable the development mode, then you can ask your application for some data. And we also developed a simple HTML client so that it's a nice UI I would like to show you. Teď nevidím. Okay, first, this is a simple application. It's a Wealth example. It's JSF. It runs on Wildfly, and it's a simple form. We have just some field we can guess, and wait. The connection problem maybe. Let's try this. Okay, I wanted to show you. Oh, it's okay. I wanted to show you the probe deployed on OpenShift. Yeah, 5 minutes. So it might be a little bit slow. This is the default simple client, which shows you a lot of information about the application you are just inspecting. First of all, it shows a list of bean archives you have in your application. You can filter beans from this archive. We can show some details about the bean archive, like which interceptors are enabled and decorators and so on. As I said, we can filter the list of all beans our application consists of. So we can say, okay, show me just beans from this bean archive. There are various other filters which allow us to find the beans we are interested in. Of course, if I have some bean, I would like to see the details about the bean. So if I look at the detail, I see some basic attributes like bean types and qualifiers and so on. This is CDI stuff classic. We also have some dependency graph so that we can see which beans this bean depends on, and also dependence. And it's clickable so that if I see there is some dependency on this some producer field, I can click and see the detail of the producer field. And again, dependency graph and so on. We also show observer methods from extensions and application. There is a simple view to inspect session and application context, or the beans which live there, or respectively their Java bean properties. And we also have a view which shows a kind of invocation tree, which means what happens if you invoke some bean, what other beans are called within this invocation. I don't have many time. This is still work in progress. It's part of this Alpha 4 release. But we are working on new features and also considering backporting this back into the mainstream, or what to say, the Weld which is deployed to Wi-Fi 8.2. It means Weld 2.2. Any questions? I think do we have still 2 minutes? Okay, I think I don't have any other things. Again, if you want to learn something new, get some more information, visit our Weld home, which is weld.cdispec.org, and also the blog post and live demo. You can try it. Thanks. Yeah, okay.
Do you know about Jakub Merton's CDI probe, kind of? It's called CDI Monitor or something.
CDI Inspector, yeah.
Inspector,
Yeah, I know about him.
Will you somehow cooperate?
Don't know, maybe. Yeah, he was doing an Eclipse plugin for things like this. Yeah. The advantage of this is that you don't need an Eclipse or so. You just take the application, and what we do is that we register a servlet with special mapping so that you deploy your application. Say, you will say, hey, I'm in development mode, and you will see this in your browser. Okay, we are out of time, so thank you and enjoy the conference.
Actually, who is number 5? No, I'm number 6 and 6. So he's 4, and who is number 5?
No, he's number 3 and you are number 4 and 5.
Suddenly.
All the time.
Okay, so the title on the board was a little bit misleading to get more people here, but it was not successful. Never mind. I think most of you are using Fedora or RHEL. Is there somebody who is not using RHEL or Fedora? You can go out. And going on, the RPMs in Fedora, I don't know, who is complaining about the RPMs of JDK in Fedora? Surprisingly, nobody. Good. I have about $200 written on myself on that, and nobody's complaining here. Thank you. Anyway, what's here? So, I'm going to tell you actually why the packages are in the state in which actually they are, and then I hope I will get as much feedback as you can provide me to actually fix that. Yeah, a little bit of Fedora RHEL, how it is structured, and why we actually do all the mess, and then a little bit about the proprietary JDKs in Fedora, which are not working pretty fine, and at the end the plugin and the security updates. So, Fedora. Fedora started with the Java GCA5 long time ago. Then it continued with JDK 6 for a really long time. JDK 7 just 2 years ago. We have now JDK 8. All are complaining about where is the 7. People are complaining where is the 6. Still go on. And there is suddenly JDK 9 already going in. So yeah, if you are still using JDK 6, don't do that anymore. Well, situation in Fedora was pretty simple. There was always some main JDK, which was used in build root, and some JDK as a tech preview, and always some killed or orphaned JDK. But in RHEL, the situation is pretty much more complex since beginning, because in RHEL we are supporting something like 1.4.2, surprisingly, yeah, it's still alive. And with that, the Oracle JDK, that exists the 5 still, but yes, it's not supported 6.7. With RHEL 6, it's a little bit mind mess, 6.7.7.1, 6.7.8, 6.7.8, and so on. In RHEL 7, finally, the GNU class pass is gone, yeah, after 20 years actually in early. Yes. So, actually, and all this that we have IBM Oracle JDK in so many versions is the reason why the packages are so messy. Yes, who is not working with JDK properly or daily actually doesn't know that, but each Java is split to the main OpenJDK. The GRE is in the main package. The devel is the devel subpackage, the JDK, yeah, so you will not Java compile without the devel package. And if you are using the terminal only, then you will be enough with the Java OpenJDK headless in Fedora. And in the RHEL, you can use other vendors like Oracle or whatever, but Oracle nor IBM have this headless split. With OpenJDK, you have also this accessibility, which is making your not working Java even less working Java. And in IBM, you have JDBC, which is doing the same with the JDBC. And sometimes you have a plugin which will allow any other third-party people to access your computer. So yes, that's the reason why it's actually split, yeah? So use headless, use terminal, be happy. Okay, multiple installs. Now we are getting to the wrong grounds actually, because the multiple installs are the main reason why your Fedora packages sometimes scream. No, if somebody is running yum from the command line and you are updating JDK, you mostly see that some certificates files have been updated and all over again. This is the cause, the multiple installations. In Fedora, as I told, we have the regular JDK and we have always some tech preview. So people which are working with both actually need to have some possibility to switch them. In RHEL, we've seen that there is a lot of them. And again, there are people using both or 3 or even more. So they need to switch among them somehow successfully. So yeah, the alternatives do the job. And they do the job pretty correctly. You just upgrade alternatives, Java-C or Java, and the JDK or GRE is switched to you to any JDK you want, or GRE. However, there is more than only Java and Java-C, for example, like Java version, Java vendor, or whatever. So you can switch also by this. But to be honest, at the end, I have a lot of time. I have 2 speeches, and actually I have 3 speeches, but one of them was cancelled. Yeah. So yeah, there is more of them, but they are making the things really complex. But they are here for the legacy because some people surprisingly are used to them. People are used to write really. Use etc alternatives, whatever, some GRE and using that. So yeah, bad luck, but it's here. And 2 years ago, even maybe longer, we were asking people around OpenJDK were asking us, we need 2 or more same JDKs actually differencing only in one patch or something like that. Because yes, in JDK sometimes appear book like, well, it appears in one version but does not in a second, surprisingly, and the change is only 1 line of code and suddenly the groovy do not work. So we introduced this multiple installs. That means that every JDK you have on the granularity of the release is installed to the separate directory. It's really good for the bug hunting because you have both, one patched JDK, one not patched JDK. You are switching among those and running your application and trying to actually understand where the bug is lying. On the contrary, it has some really hidden, not surprising packaging issue because not RPM nor Yum, nothing of that is prepared to install software to its specific directory. So we actually had to do it in the packages manually, and that's why Yum is still being complaining about the JDK. The side effect of that was the debug builds. Why actually somebody needs some debug builds? People forgot that, but JDK is programmed like any other, so it has its own developers, and people are working on that. And if you are only using JDK, it is highly optimized. You will not get any debug outputs. If you are debugging hotspot, you cannot debug hotspot with the regular JDK. So you need to build JDK with the full debug info on. Then you have really a lot of information flowing from JDK, and there are interesting information. For example, the bytecode optimization, how it's actually happening, or even the machine instructions. So yes, even the debug output from the runtime jar, but it's really useful. A long time ago, I was always asked by people using RHEL, please provide me debug packages for that version. I was digging to the archive, looking for that version, providing them the debug build. So since Fedora 21, you have possibility to install of every released OpenJDK, also its debug version. Yeah, so I think everybody here is debugging hotspots, so you will enjoy that and you will use that. Again, it's switchable by alternatives, and this is actually a really useful thing at the end after all these troubles with the multiple JDKs and multiple versions of JDK. Now you have even the multiple versions of multiple vendors with debug or not debug. So actually, yes, but it's really working and it's useful. Proprietary JDKs in Fedora, short story long, don't use that, it have no sense, use OpenJDK. Okay, if you really need, then you will have some funny parts with that, because IBM, they have a really nice visual tool to install JDK, but it's funny, because you will get 200 archive, from which you install 100 megabytes big JDK, and that's because in that archive is different JDK, which is impact into the temp, and then install your JDK. Yeah, so there are two of them in that, yeah, it's really good. Oracle have the simple table to unzip, it's pretty simple, but still don't use Oracle JDK. Anyway, even if you do any of that, you need to set up the alternatives manually. You don't have full sources. There are sources of hotspot missing mostly. And your plugin will probably not work because it cannot install into your plugins directory, so you need to do this on your own again. If you want to read about that, there's a good article on the Fedora CZ with these alternatives. You will just copy-paste these and run. Plugin. Proprietary JDKs have plugin packed with them if the architecture is supported. Not so do OpenJDK. OpenJDK's plugin is called ICT-Web. It's open source plugin. It's really independent plugin because it can work with Oracle JDK or even with the IBM JDK or GRE. So feel free to play with that. Just the naming convention is pretty misleading. Yeah, you can switch it with the on RHEL where we are using multiple vendors of JDK. You can switch it via this nice Cape word. So simple, so remember that if you will need to switch plugin ever. And ICT-Web is containing also the Java Web Start, yeah. Anyway, now I'm thinking why we are not fixing all this stuff. That's because the maintainers of the OpenJDK for Fedora, they are mostly busy with quite different stuff. And this stuff is called security updates. Every 3 months, Oracle sent us some patches, which are considered to be somehow security dependent, security possibly, security threats. Yeah, they are probably fixing that. And we are trying to apply them to the RPMs, and we are trying to actually verify that we broke nothing, which especially in the before 2013 was happening pretty often, but since then the communication with Oracle improved a bit. So now we are not making too much trouble, but yes, every 3 months you see the security update of JDK, and you may be pretty sure that something have been broken. And yes, that's what we are busy with next 3 months to fix that. Yep, that's it. Here are the slides. Okay, your thoughts, what you don't like on RPMs in Fedora of OpenJDK? You like them, cool. I will close the bugs. Close, not the bug then. Okay, that's everything. And I will move to the second speech. If this was one terrible, then the second one is even worse, so feel free. Yeah, actually, was somebody here in the FOSDEM on Java Dev Room? good, I can start to lie. Yeah. So I have been lucky to be on the FOSDEM on Java Dev Room, well, again, and this year the Dev Room was pretty good because a lot of speeches were somehow understandable. Well, in FOSDEM, it's somehow, even the Java Dev, especially the Java Dev Room, it's quite complicated sometimes because the people who are having the speeches here, they are really the people who do the stuff, who created the hotspot, who created the security manager and this stuff. So if they are speaking, most they are looking, oh, what the hell? But yeah, this time it was really good, and there was a lot of to actually understand. Yeah, the state of OpenJDK actually presented by the Mark Reinhold, who is the OpenJDK project leader. He was speaking a lot about what's happening in the planet and how the community is actually ignored. Yeah, zero assembler. Zero ARM microjit, what I've been, well, anyway, we will get to that bit a bit later. So, yes, the state of OpenJDK by Mark Reinhold. His main topic was the JDK enchantment proposal. JDK enchantment proposal is some way how the new features are getting to the JDK, even sometimes new bug fixes are getting by that way. If you want to propose some new feature to JDK, you need to write this, and somebody will evaluate it, somebody will tell you need to fix that, then you need to write it, and then somebody will evaluate again if you can actually push it. The process is really painful right now. I am sending my JEP, I think, 3 times, so that it's still not there, maybe 4 times. Actually, if you are trying to send your first JEP, then you will probably not even find a place where to send it. So he is trying to redefine all these features, and he's trying to bring some new way because, yeah, this is the crucial part of the evolution of the JDK. If it does not exist, then JDK will not evolve and will die. So in JDK 9, probably everything, even the major bug fixes, will be tracked by the JEP2. And actually, you can read quite pretty of them in these in this URL. He also introduces the main JDK 9 projects, which are completely out of scope of my talk, so feel free to check them here. They are currently now under the evaluation process, so whatever you will read here will be maybe discarded, maybe not. And of course, he is member of the governing board, so he had on the speech at the end about actually ignoring the community. Yeah, Java 9 make waveform modules. This was a long talk, and we have learned nothing new, actually. Everything was taught in the last year, so still the same. Mark was mostly still highlighting that the Sun and whatever internal packages will be banned, so you will not be able to use them in your code. But actually, other guy told, who is developing them too, that the reflection will still work, which may be interesting because the reflection is in the forbidden packages. So we will see how it works. Except that, the Jigsaw is already merged in the JDK 9.3, so if you want to play with Jigsaw and modular JDK, you already have the possibility to do so. Some configuration and URL of the jars will have a new URI syntax. It's quite funny because the already existing URI is pretty terrible. This is a little bit more terrible, but still terrible. Yes. Another speech was by the Severin Gavol from the Red Hat. He is hacking the Zero. Zero is assembler-less port of the hotspot. Normal hotspot have assembly templation for every architecture on which it's written. Zero is trying to avoid that, that is have C++ instruction. And yes, it's quite important because currently only Intel and the Spark are supported. The rest of the architectures is running on the Zero. For OpenJDK, the hotspot is ported also for ARM64, but it's pretty fresh and it started to be merged to the JDK 9 freshly. And ARM32 is still running on the Zero. Shark is just-in-time compiler for the Zero, according to Severin, still broken. Yeah, but there is a hope in the end because the Edward Neville, who is one of the developers of the ARM instructions, have one day wake up and he wrote the ARM32 template interpreter. So yes, Zero for ARM32 maybe soon will die, and we hope that because yes, it's cool, but it's terribly slow compared with the assembly template interpreter. So yeah, Neville is working on that. You can see the patch here. Surprisingly, the patch is not even so big, considering how big improvements on the speed up it's doing. What lies beneath? Probably best talk, or maybe second best talk, on the FOSDEM Java Dev Room, because Andrew Ding, the principal software engineer from Red Hat, was speaking about how the bytecode is optimized in the C1 or C2 compiler and how it's in the end turned to the machine instructions. This is quite complex topic and it's really hard to understand. And his speech, which you can see, you can read here on these links, is explaining it pretty human readably. So I really recommend you to read that. J3 is the author of the J3 charts. He was introducing his new J3 charts port to the Java FX and about his optimized SVG export. And he showed the awesome charts. Does somebody know them? Bad luck. They are pretty fancy library for the 3D graphs. They have no 3D acceleration. They are running in plain JVM and are really cool. And they were open source quite recently, actually exactly on that speech. So yeah, you can now contribute to that recently proprietary software. Java Restart with WebFX was probably the most crazy presentation because this guy, he's from Siberia, and one polar night he was probably really bored, and he is angry with the plugin, with the Java Starter, with the HTML, so he will write his own technology to replace them all. But bad luck, no browser is supporting that. So he will write his own browser to support the technology. It was really nice tech preview actually to see what you can do during the polar night and actually even what you can do with the current web. Unluckily, the focus was not for tech security, so yes, you can control his computer via his new browser. But except that it was really cool. Yeah, going on. Open Heart Surgery was much more serious stuff. Volker Simonis is developer for the SAP. He was creating the SAP special hotspot. And he was, in live demo, he was debugging the hotspot itself. As I told, to debug hotspot itself, you need to have a debug builds. So if you are using Fedora 22, you can simply do that with our new debug packages. Anyway, with what lies beneath and his recording, because you need to wait for recording, it was without any presentation. He was really just debugging the hotspot. He was connecting the JDBC to the hotspot, and it was actually quite interesting to see how he was debugging the not existing generated instruction on the fly. In that presentation, you will see, yeah, he has papers. Yeah, exactly. There's papers you can read about some magical places in the hotspot where you actually need to connect JDBC into, which are some functions which do exist in the hotspot and which actually are transforming the code. So yes, you need to debug the JDBC to them. Life in Trenches by Andrew Helly, the leader of the Red Hat OpenJDK team in Red Hat. So you are still disturbing. Yeah, he is long-term contributor for OpenJDK. He's sitting in the government board, and as few people in the governing board are taking care of technology, Mark Reinhold is taking some care about the Oracle people, then Andrew Helly is taking care of the community. And yes, contributing to OpenJDK is a really complex and terrible process. So he was interviewing some long-time developers outside of Oracle and asking them how they actually feel. Surprisingly, the result was that in the last 2 years, they are feeling much better. I am not a contributor of the OpenJDK. I am trying to be, and I'm not thinking it's much better. Anyway, this speech, worth it to read again. And, okay, out of time, goodbye. Oh, okay, going on. Yeah, Andrew Helly is trying to protect the community really terribly. He is standing in the government board against the Oracle people, but he must be careful to actually not get lost his place. Okay, going on. Shenandoah. Shenandoah is a new... Yeah, but I have even a third presentation. Yes, I have. They have cancelled it. Okay, we can finish now, or I can continue for a while. Your vote. Nobody? Nobody is next time last? I am not. Two more. Okay, going on. Wisdom of crowd testing, blah, blah, blah. I need...
You can do it tomorrow if you want. We will have a space for lightning talk, so you can just, do Shenandoah tomorrow.
Okay, I will just mention this one as the last thing. I am trying to pack Elasticsearch for the Fedora. It's already packed, but it is heavily patched. I was trying to speak with the Elasticsearch people in the FOSDEM because they were developers of Elasticsearch. And I asked them if they can verify my patches, and then just really strictly refused. I think it was really nasty from the Elasticsearch people to refuse with the words, no, we are not supporting any distro, we are not supporting any patches, no, no, no. Write us no, we will not reply to you. So yeah, that's everything. You can see the slides, my here, the full schedule here, and blah, 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 blah. Thanks. Mikrofon. Promiň.
Hello. Okay. So, welcome everyone to my presentation. My name is Marcin Zajączkowski, and using 4 case studies, I will show how Java 8 can simplify our testing code and the way we use and we write testing tools. My presentation will be very short, so in case you have any question, I will try to answer them after the presentation or during the break, or you can use my Twitter. Just a few seconds to mention 3 interesting companies I cooperate with, SolidSoft, Codarte, and Bottega. Before we start, 2 short questions. How many of you still have to do maintenance of the projects in Java 7 or earlier? Okay, half of you. So do you know, guys, when the end of life for Java 7 is scheduled? It's April this year, so maybe it's about time to make an upgrade. And Java 8 is the most revolutionary Java version released in the past few years. There are many enhancements and new features, but during that presentation I will focus on lambda expressions and method references, because thanks to them, the features already known from Groovy and Scala became available in pure Java, even if they look uglier. Although Spring Framework is a very interesting alternative to write tests also for Java code, if you prefer to use Java and you just can't make a switch, let's see how Java 8 can bring power to testing. The first case study is AssertJ. It's a set of fluent assertions for Java. They are strongly typed, and thanks to that, in IDE, the code completion can show you only those assertions which are relevant to asserted object type. So for dates, we see only assertions for dates. For collection, only for collections. There are few modules for additional projects, but there is also a separate branch for Java 8, which has new method signatures, new classes, and support for new Java 8 features like optional or date and time API. Let's see a short, small example. Sometimes we have a collection of complex objects. Here we have a collection of, we have fellowship, which contains fellows, and we need to make an assertion for names of the fellows. So we can do that manually by using a for which creates a new collection, and then we have do normal AssertJ collection, AssertJ assertion for collection. But AssertJ can do that for us with extracting method. There it works. It's better than do that manually, but the problem is that name is passed as a string, so it's error prone in case of refactoring. In addition, there is no way to get the type of that field at the compilation time, so those assertions are made on objects. Let's see how Java 8 can simplify that. And in Java 8, we can use method reference which is strongly typed. There's no problem with refactoring. And in addition, compiler knows that there are strings here, so it's strong typed. This is already implemented, will be available in AssertJ 2.0, which should be released this month. You could ask, maybe we can do the same with Java 8, and the answer is yes, with streams, but streams are a nice piece of software, but for simple cases, it's overbloated. We need 3 lines to do the same that AssertJ can do in 1 line. So in that case, a separate tool with Java 8 is better than pure Java 8. Another case study is Awaitility. Is util for asynchronous call testing. Instead of using sleep with a large number of seconds, it checks the condition multiple times per second and finishes as quickly as the condition is fulfilled. In most cases, it is much faster than sleep. There is a separate support for Groovy and Scala. It's day trace and closures, but Java 8 syntax is quite compact as well. Let's see how we could do that with a message queue facade. We can send a ping message, and we are waiting to get a reply. This one. And here we have a method which returns the number of packets, and a hamtest matcher that we need 1 packet. Under the hood, in the to method, there is a proxy and thread local to remember the call and re-execute it multiple times. It looks quite okay, and in addition, we have clear and verbose error message in case of failure. So we see that we expected 1 packet, there was no packets within 5 seconds. Looks good. But there could be problem to express the complex expression in hamtest matchers. At least I had that problem because I prefer to use AssertJ, and I didn't like to learn hamtest matchers just to use it in Awaitility. So I wanted to change it, and a year ago, when Java 8 was on the horizon, I wanted to check how Java 8 can simplify Awaitility, and I started with the alternative syntax to proxy, which uses callable to take the object and re-execute it. Because callable is a functional interface, we can replace it with lambda or with method reference. Looks much better, but I still wanted to get rid of hamcres. So with Java 8, we can do that. We can just express condition in lambda, but do you remember the clear error message? It's not available anymore because we only know that the condition was not fulfilled, and from code we know that it should be 1 packet, but no one knows if there were 2 packets, 3 packets, or no packets at all. So I didn't like that solution, and I wanted to do something with AssertJ. And my idea was to put it into Lambda and tell AssertJ to use it to resolve condition, to check condition. And I didn't know it's possible, but after a few hours of hacking, I was able to do that, and it was only several lines of code. The nice thing is that there is only runnable and callable to use, so there is Awaitility can still be Java 5 compliant. There is no need to make a separate module for Java 8. And that implementation is available in Awaitility starting from version 1.6.0. The next case study is Mockito. Mockito is the most popular mocking framework for Java. And there is feature named argument capturing, which allows you to verify the method execution with complex object as a parameter. So it's very useful because it remembers the method object reference, and we can take it and do any assertions we want. It's useful, but it takes 3 lines of code to check one value, and I wanted to simplify it. My idea was to use AssertJ to express the expression and to pass it to Mockito. There were 2 problems. First of all, it is normal method execution, so there should be object, not lambda with AssertJ, just object. And that could be worked around it using Mockito matchers, which looks like normal object, but argument matchers are original method class with multiple methods, and it's not functional interface, so cannot be replaced with lambda. And the solution is to create another matcher which takes condition as consumer with lambda with AssertJ inside, and to implement the new matcher, which is normal Hamcless matcher used by Mockito, as a check of that expression inside. So we can have that syntax which has just 1 line and can do that the same as 3 lines mentioned before in Java 7. The last case study is catch exception. Sometimes we need to make an assertion on thrown exception. In Java, there are a few ways to do that. All of them have their own pros and cons. And the catch exception is a small library which allows us to catch and verify exception in 1 line. Here we catch exception. Under the hood, it's proxy and thread local. And here we just get exception object taken from thread local, and we can do any assertion we want, for example, with AssertJ. And it looks okay, but there are limitations. There is no support for static methods. We cannot use catch exception with static methods and with constructor calls. In addition, it's quite complicated to do that under the hood. And question could be, what could be simplified with Java 8? And the answer is everything. And when Java 8 was released, there appeared an unexpected announcement on the project webpage that the Java 8 lambdas make that project obsolete. And it will be no longer maintenance. And it's true, because the entire library, over 20 classes, can be replaced with just a few lines of code. And in addition, it's just try catch, which we already know. The tricky part is to use lambda expression to execute method or to make a constructor call, and to get in return object, which is the exception which was thrown. And later we can just make a normal assertion on that object. And that approach was already implemented in AssertJ 2.0, and which provides seamlessly integration with other assertions available for exceptions in AssertJ. For you Java 7 guys, there is a good news. There is a fork made by my colleague from Codarte, Mariusz Mykuła, which accidentally is in this room. And you can get new versions which are compatible with other testing tools, new versions of other testing tools. Let's summary the main points. With Java 8, we can have our testing code, but also production code, more compact. And some things we like compact syntax for runnable, we got as lambda, we have for free. But as I presented, lambda expressions alone, it's not enough sometimes, and it's good to have tool which can be modified to benefit from Java 8. Some tools were made obsolete completely, but it is good because the best piece of code is the code which doesn't need to be written at all. Sometimes it's worth to remember that sometimes to see the opportunity to use features from Java 8, it is required to rethink the implementation, to rework the entire class or even the entire project, to write something better, which can be when Java 8 can be properly used. There is still a lot of work to do in that field. So especially if you haven't got familiar with Java 8 yet, maybe it's good to take some open source project or to write some open source project to personally feel how Java 8 can bring power to testing. We have 2 minutes, so if you have any question, please ask. Yes.
Do you personally consider the development in Java 8 faster?
Faster. I think yes, because I personally also use Groovy. So there's in Java, I see that many features which are available in Groovy already in the past, available in Java, and code is, in general, code is more compact. So I can make it easier to read it, and the development think it could be faster because I can write less code and I have less code to read later.
Yeah, but like it can be smaller regarding of lines, but regarding of thinking about the code, isn't it a little bit harder to do?
The question was about thinking about code which is written in new way. Of course, functional way to write code is different, and for people new to, maybe not to Java 8, but to functional thinking about software, it could be harder to think, to figure out how to write it, but reading the code, I think it's much easier than writing that code, and after some time period, it's normal for those people to do that. And in the long period, I think that functional programming is much, in many cases, it is much more useful, much more compact and safe, because we have immutable code structures, which are safer in many cases. Okay, 1 minute.
I would just add a little to that reply that yes, the Java programmers have really not get used to the streams, and that's when we are testing on GK, we have to like the test cases actually in Java. So we are really using Groovy to test Java because Groovy programmers are used to that.
So isn't really going to be an extinct thing? Like there will be extinction of Groovy when you
with Groovy, there's another problem because Pivotal stopped stop of supporting Groovy, so there are other issues. But in Groovy is the dynamic type language, and there are many other features, not only closures, which makes the Groovy code shorter, and to make many dynamic things which are available in Groovy cannot be still done in Java. So in some specific cases, I think Groovy is still better. And I think that in many cases there is a need to have a language like Groovy, like for example Grails, and the Java 8 is closer to normal way how the code can be written, but languages like Scala or Groovy can still live with that, and I think there will be no extinction of those languages in near future. Okay, thank you.